group has collapsed. We have a shot at true independence. And I won't let it go to waste.
Back in May of 2020, brand new indie studio Neon Giant announced their debut game The Ascent, a solo or co-op action RPG set in a dystopian cyberpunk setting known as Veles. Now in 2021, The Ascent is shaping up to be one of the hottest indie releases expected out this year, and in this video I'm going to be diving into all we know about it so far and why I feel we should be excited for its release.
It looks like we're gonna have to work together on this one. Let's get it done!
Hey there guys, thank you so much for joining me, the Indie Gamer here, back with another video. Today we're going to be diving into all things The Ascent, as it's a game that I've been super excited for ever since its reveal last year. The Ascent looks to be bringing a super stylish cyberpunk aesthetic and combining it with RPG elements, co-op action and awesome isometric gameplay. And what I'm going to do in this video is break it down into sections, from story and narrative to the gameplay elements, and the setting and environment to the release date window. But first up, let's go ahead and dive right on into the developer background. The Ascent is the debut game from indie developer Neon Giant and is being published by Curve Digital. Neon Giant are a super small but super talented 11-person indie team made up of industry veterans with previous experience working on some of the biggest action game franchises out there, including the likes of Gears of War, Wolfenstein and Doom. And for me, the experience that these devs have really shines through in the scope and overall look and feel of this game. Neon Giant and The Ascent definitely feels like a classic case of awesome developers who have really honed their skills in the industry and then decided to reclaim their full creative freedom over a project completely of their own, and clearly they have a ton of passion for. So next up, let's move on to the release window for The Ascent. Due to the game's original announcement coming prior to next-gen consoles launching, there were originally some perhaps overly ambitious hopes that The Ascent could be a next-gen launch title, but this was then later ruled out as it was delayed until sometime in 2021. Along with that news, it was also confirmed that The Ascent will launch onto Xbox Series X, Series S, Xbox One and PC via Steam, with it also dropping into Game Pass on day one too. And just to add, I do think it is highly possible that we could see The Ascent on other platforms too at some point down the line. The Ascent's release date still states broadly a 2021 release window, but other than the date itself, there are some encouraging signs for a nearing release. Most notably, the game's Twitter page, which was created last September, has been incredibly active of late with daily uploads of screenshots and awesome looking gameplay GIFs. I strongly suspect we won't see the release date locked in until we're on the final stretch before release, and to be perfectly honest, I'm all for them taking all the time they need to make sure the game reaches its full potential. But having said that, with the way everything is looking, I have a very good feeling that The Ascent's release is not a million miles away. So moving on from there, let's jump into the story. To me, The Ascent's story sounds very intriguing and super interesting, giving that feeling of lawlessness and disorder in this awesome futuristic cyberpunk setting. But to give the best perspective and insight for the story, I'm going to read straight from the synopsis on the website for you. The game takes place within an arcology in a futuristic dystopian world known as Veles, controlled by a powerful mega corporation called the Ascent Group. And this mega corporation has just collapsed. Confusion and chaos ensue, security and order are in disarray, and without protection, everyone is left to fend for themselves. One day, while sent on a routine assignment to make use of your skills with a cyberdeck, you are suddenly caught in a vortex of catastrophic events. In all of this, you play as a worker enslaved by the company that owns you and everyone else in your district. Stop gangs and hostile corporations from taking over and discover what really happened. Like I say, I think it sounds awesome and will certainly be very interesting to see how it plays out in the game, especially as Neon Giant have talked about the story being an important part of the process for them. So let's move forward then and talk about the game's glorious setting and environment. Neon Giant have mentioned several times about the world itself being an integral part of the Ascent and that they consider it to be the main character of the game. And I can certainly see why they say this too. The world in this game looks incredible and meticulously detailed. It has a very industrial, lived-in feel with that retro futuristic aesthetic that I personally absolutely love. So let's take a look at some of the features we can expect to experience in the Ascent's world. Open world gameplay with the options to take on additional side missions, a world with a ton of depth and an emphasis on verticality. Many character encounters, each with their own moral alignments, a world that reacts to your actions, for example civilians that scurry away when you enter into combat situations nearby. The ability to enter inside buildings such as shops and armories, and in general, amazing detail, incredible dynamic lighting, and a ton of variety in the surroundings. I especially love the focus on verticality within the environments, bringing that true futuristic atmosphere and the extra level of depth that it will bring to gameplay. And speaking of gameplay, let's go ahead and dive straight on into the gameplay elements. One of the things I'm most excited for within the Ascent is that it is solo or co-op for up to 4 players. And with it releasing into Game Pass day one, it will not be hard to find a squad to team up with. So let's get into some of these gameplay features then. Gameplay looks to be twin stick shooter style and also incorporates the ability to shoot vertically and over cover, adding depth to gameplay. Destructible environments will also feature, adding another layer of detail to combat encounters. Customization will also play a big role within the game, where we'll be able to leverage many different RPG elements such as armor, weapons, cybernetic augmentations which are the game's abilities, and also the cyberdeck which is the hacking ability within the game. There'll also be visual upgrades known as cyberware which you can customize to your liking, and other special combat abilities outside of the weapons too. Looting will also play a core part of the gameplay where defeating enemies allows the player to collect loot of various rarities. Loot can also be collected by completing missions, exploring the world, or purchasing from vendors with in-game currency. So that just about wraps up what we know so far about the Ascent. But something I just wanted to mention though is at the time of making this video there are some rumours of an Xbox showcase to take place at the end of this month which could be focusing on some of the idea Xbox games. So with all things considered, I don't think it is out of the realms of possibility that we could be seeing some more of the Ascent then. But anyways guys, I just wanted to say thank you so much for checking out this video. It really does mean the absolute world. If you do have any questions or thoughts on the Ascent, I would love to hear from you down in the comments section below. If you did enjoy this, it would be massively appreciated if you could hit that like button. And please do feel free to share this out on social media and subscribe to stay up to date with all the latest indie games goodness on the channel. Thanks again for watching guys, and I will see you in the next one.